I mentioned, we're gonna just delve into the schedule real quickly. If Keun-Hyuk, if you can pull that up and share your screen.
Okay, one moment, please.
Okay. So perfect. So I think most of you, I've already shared the schedule with the students, but for the viewers who are tuning in, I'll jump into this real quickly. Okay, so as you know, we're in our introduction phase, and then the simulation phase itself is going to be 45 minutes, followed by a break, and followed by the debate phase. So there's going to be 3 rounds of debate, including 3 prompts. And the prompts we will introduce to you at the start of each debate round. After that, we'll have a 10 to 15 minute judge deliberation, and then we'll announce the winner. So we're gonna try to keep on schedule today, and in just a few moments, I will share with you the game codes and we'll just get started. I will be running the simulation on my end. Okay, Keun-Hyuk, you can start. I'm going to share this. So all of you have that master Excel document, correct? With your teams listed and the URL. So I just go to the simulation interface right now, and I will share the game code with you on this Zoom. And for our viewers, whoever's tuning in, it's going to be interesting because you'll get to see the scores update live, each team scores, and you get to see the trajectory of the graphs changing, you get to see the mortality rates changing. So that will be presented in the main room as the students are competing using the simulation in their breakout rooms. So the first thing I'm going to do, once you all have accessed the link online, make sure you're using Google Chrome. I'm going to share with you the game code right now, which is All Stars 2021, but I'll share it with you. It's all lowercase. Oh, I see that there is, okay. I see that there's one student missing. Is it possible? I haven't heard, whose team is that? Oh, she's here? Okay, perfect. We're all good. We have everyone. Keun-Hyuk, we're set on the teams, right? All 18?
Yep, we have everyone.
Fantastic. Perfect. Okay, so once you have, you've all received the game code link. So I'm in the game code. So I can see on my end, if you've logged in, you just need to make sure that everyone's logged in, and then you can go and self-sort into your breakout rooms. By any chance, if you're not able to self-sort into your breakout rooms, we'll manually put you into your breakout rooms. So I'll give you about 2 more minutes, and then I'll see if anyone's having trouble logging on. And then, you know, I will give you a 2-minute warning prior to starting the actual simulation round. So as I mentioned, it's 45 minutes. And it's the same procedure as the regional rounds. The judges will basically be going from room to room and observing how you're navigating through the simulation. They'll be asking you questions. They'll just be observing you. So keep going as you will with the actual simulation.
Sorry, I think we are missing one student. Do we have Mr. Julian Schneider from Como, Illinois?
Gamalino, could you let us know if any of the teams are missing any students? Do you mind letting us know?
We have everyone.
Yeah, I believe we are missing Julian.
Yeah,
I'm on Gabalino.
Do you have his number, or do you think you can contact
I'll
him?
email
I could shoot him an email.
Okay. If he's running late, we can wait for a few minutes, but yeah, just shoot him an email. That would be awesome. Okay, for Hanam, I see 3 people have logged on, Gamalino, 2 people, Chanmar, I have 1 person, and Moldov. I'm not seeing any.
I'm logged in for Moldov.
You're logged in, it's okay, it might not just be reflected, it's fine on mine.
Yeah.
Well, I
You should be logged. If you're logged in using the game code, you're fine. Sometimes there's a delay in reflecting who's logged in. Okay, I think we can start breaking you out into rooms, or just go to if you could self-sort into the breakout rooms. And then from there, we'll give you a few-minute warning, about a 3-minute warning, and then to give time for the missing student to come to just join in, and then we'll let you know once it starts, and then you're on your way. So good luck, everyone.
So breakout rooms are now open. You may move into your respective breakout rooms at your convenience. Should you have trouble moving into the rooms, do tell us in the main room and I'll move you there manually.
Can I have some assistance getting into the breakout room?
Of course, Moldov, right? And,
Yes, please.
Miss
Thank you.
Oliver. Okay, everyone has now been sorted into their rooms and we can start whenever you're ready. Hold on, we have, oh yeah, now everyone's fine. All right, I just want to remind you that we are live on YouTube and there are 27 people watching, and whatever we say here can be heard by our YouTube viewers. So
Perfect. Okay. So we will give them 2 minutes to start. And for the viewers, we will basically, you will jump from room to room to room. So you'll be able to see how the students are working together, how they're negotiating with one another, how they're submitting policies. So you'll be able to watch all the students compete.
sorry, I think something went wrong. It says the breakout rooms are closing in 23 seconds. So can I
It's
just
okay.
do that one more time once they're
Okay.
okay? I must have
That's
clicked on a wrong button or something.
No worries. Zoom, that's the Zoom life.
Okay, that was my mistake, I think. I'm going to restart the breakout rooms so you can, yeah, sorry about that.
I'm going to go into Moldov real quickly and just make sure people are logged in.
Can I have some assistance? Oh, I got it. I got it.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Doesn't happen to me often, but yeah, it does happen. So you as judges can obviously move around from breakout room to breakout room. Just click on the breakout room button on the menu bar in the bottom, and you can switch into rooms.
All right, give them a 2-minute warning and then I'm going to start it.
Right. So for the people watching on the YouTube, I'll be moving around from breakout room to breakout room, as well as the main room, so you'll be able to see how participants work among themselves and look at the scoreboard.
We have a student who's just entered. Hugo?
Yeah, you probably had a connection error. I'm going to turn to waiting room right now.
Give a 1 minute warning. One minute warning, Keun-Hyuk, to students. Perfect. 4:20, we'll start.
Hey, Supriya, just real quick, one of our Adam on our team's having some Zoom technical difficulties. You were sharing his screen and then it's just kind of like locking him out from seeing the simulation. So we might just need an extra minute or two to get that
Sure.
solved. I'll jump back in here.
Okay, sure.
Okay, hi, I'm sorry. One of our team members got kicked out, so now we're trying to go back into the breakout room. Can we allow Hugo and I to be in country Hanum?
Sure.
Thank you.
Keun-Hyuk, do you mind putting Hugo and Renee into him? Okay.
Yeah, they're both in there. They haven't yet to move
Okay.
themselves, but they've been assigned.
I'm sorry, my Zoom broke down or
Okay.
froze, and I'd just like to be put back in the Moldov room if that's okay.
Sure. Is it working
Oh, I
now?
see.
Okay.
Once I assign them, they're there permanently, so they can look
Okay.
back on their own accord.
Hi, I do apologize. So it does look like Hugo's in, but his he's having some technical difficulty, so he's shutting down his computer and then he's restarting.
Is he the Prime Minister?
He's our Minister of Finance.
Okay.
Yeah, you have two Hugos now, so it seems it's reconnected using a different device, so
Yes.
it should be okay, hopefully.
I'm just
Great,
gonna broadcast to everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Keun-Hyuk, if you don't mind just saying student Zoom issue starting ASAP. Can you, Renee, can you let us know as soon as he's back on?
He's back in. I think.
Okay. Starting momentarily. Yeah. I guess I can start,
Yeah,
right?
we're good to go.
I'm going to start. Hey
All
there.
right. Okay, Adam's back in and ready to roll now, so I'm gonna.
Okay, I'm starting it right now. Awesome. Okay.
Hi, I do apologize about that. Yes, Hugo's in, so if we can go ahead. I really do apologize. Thank
Okay,
you.
no worries. Okay, we're started. Perfect. We're on. So Keun-Hyuk, you can start going into breakout rooms. To our viewers, we've started the simulation. It's a 45-minute round, and we will be entering into the breakout room so you can see students working with one another.
Yeah, sorry, they won't be able to hear you. I'm already moving along breakout rooms. So we
Oh,
are
okay.
safe here.
Okay. Judges, you can start going into the breakout rooms. Laurel, you can go into a breakout room. Yeah, perfect.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, they're online though. I did online
Okay.
for that. Yeah. That's open,
Yeah.
that's open. We're still doing that. We're still on lockdown.
Okay.
You want to consider a place to worship maybe? Or do you want to wait a little bit?
Let's wait till the vaccine rolls, and then, because we're still sitting pretty good with the approval, right? We're 76% approval. And we've helped the economy. The economy's up to 25%.
Yep.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, they're online though. I did online.
We may
Hospitals, increases hospital capacity. I guess we don't really need that. Antiviral.
Sorry, I think we can cancel the measures for contact nurses because our death ratio is lower now. No?
That makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Do we want to distribute antivirals? Well, it's not showing.
No, that doesn't really do anything to prevent the actual cases, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we need another round of economic stimulus to individuals.
Yeah. Okay. And small business loans just turned off.
Okay, so let's turn both back on. Let's do a little more than 600.
We could do 800, and then I could make this expensive and do moderate.
Let's try moderate. I don't want to go to the bed right now.
Distribute antivirals.
And we usually stack our budget.
Face covering funds that will keep lockdowns Yeah. Okay. And small business loans. We do 800, and then I could make this expensive. Oh, we're like almost flat. That's great. Yeah.
We need to improve economic measures because our budget starts to struggle.
Okay. No, I can do that though. Should I do allowed with 14-day quarantine?
We have a lot of people working in the agriculture and actually in the low-income household threshold. So that's why we are extremely cautious with the health of the people, and the country and the government take a lot of responsibility of taking good care and providing the access to enough health care to our people. So that is why in the very beginning, when the numbers are up, we know that as a densely populated country, we need to control the pandemic very, very quickly and be very responsive. So if we see from our daily infection rates, actually the cases tested positive has not exceeded more than 300, and we kept the R ratio below 1 in this case. And of course, it sacrificed a bit of our economic health, but we actually see people are staying very healthy. So we believe we're confident that the economy can be opened up very soon because we are very domestic focused. We don't necessarily need to rely on reopening the borders to resume our economy. So we are still waiting for a good timing to really start the economic activities again. But now we're actually seeing the cases and the health situation of our people are good. So we are quite happy about it for now.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm taking you away from your valuable time so you guys get going again, but thank you for that answer.
No problem. So we come back. The R got up a little bit higher, so let's see what we can do. Is it going back on the face covering fine?
Yeah, I think we can just.
Okay, so Prime Minister, are you listening to different inputs this time than last time from your public health, from your health minister and your finance minister?
Yes. So the model that we're trying to use is to have the ministers for each portfolio kind of suggest policy approaches. We're trying to streamline it by having the minister and the prime minister confer on policies in each area, and then implement if they both agree. We found that previously, everybody discussing each issue, it could become a little complicated in terms of figuring out who had weighed in. So I think that's sort of our approach.
Prime Minister, if I might add, we also discussed how we've adopted also, if you see something, say something mentality. So while the Prime Minister is conferring with each of us respectively, if we all deeply disagree or are concerned with the decision, we will voice that. Myanmar has begun vaccinating their public a few weeks ago, and they are now opening their borders to us and to Hanam. I'm going to confirm with them what their numbers look like to see if we would like to reciprocate that action.
Do we want to wait for full approval to release the vaccine, or do we want to release during clinical trials? Because we now can't. I guess.
Well, last time what we did was we released it during the preclinical trials, but I think there's nothing wrong with it since, like, you know, our positivity rates are pretty low, so might as well.
So just your.
Well done.
Okay. All right. Economic health is creeping back up.
Yay. Let's see what else here. Face covering fines. I'll keep them low.
Yes, I think that's fine.
The vaccine, kind of something's happening there. Vaccine release during clinical trials. We had this. No, that was what that was. Now we can like fully release it, I think, is what it looks like. Or no, it's not fully approved, but what's this say? Allows you to choose when in the testing and approval process the vaccine is released. Development starts in the preclinical stage. Releasing a vaccine as soon as possible is important. Okay, I don't see how this is much different. Well, this is during clinical trials. So then I can turn off this bottom one, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not exactly clear on how those two
are different. I think one is just like in the preliminary stage when it's still like before they're doing clinical trials, and then this other one now, clinical trials are actually available. So they're testing it and studying it, is what it seems like. Okay.
And okay, so we have no cases and no deaths. We should start working on our economy. Borders are still closed, right? So what else can we do?
On the restrictions, and that might well be possible, but again, we are at the stage where the vaccine has already for a month or two been possible. Oh, we can fully release the vaccine.
Let's do it ASAP. And to the point raised by the Minister of Finance, could I add that from what I have noticed, the strict measures seem to be very popular within the population. because we started off the game with the simulation with 60% approval rating. And after having enforced all these strict measures, we have now reached a level of 74.76. So I think the people are really positively responding to the strict measures because people care about their lives, and I think they appreciate the government taking a stance for them.
Just a note there. I would like some consensus, particularly from the Minister for Public Health. We've already released, in the next week, it'll probably be 50 million doses of vaccine,
yes,
and we're only getting 7 new positive.
So, if there's anything that we can do that's not too,
I think we should keep the public messaging.
Yeah, I
We are
agree.
piecing this together.
maybe even turn back on the face covering signs for now, just low.
Okay.
All right, 100% economic health, 68% approval.
Great.
Yep. Let's see, what can we do to generate a little more approval?
I think voluntary contact tracing.
Okay. Yeah. At this point, I think it's justified.
Okay.
We have okay, so we're going mandatory face covering.
Yeah.
Do we want to, sorry, Maria, go ahead.
No, sorry. Shamari is asking us if we are 0%, and I'm telling them that we are 0 cases.
Okay. I know we weren't going to do small business loans, but I'm wondering if, because the economy is looking really, really good, I wonder if that would help with the approval rating at this point, and maybe even stimulus, or stimulus before
You want
the
to let's forecast it, right? Let's see what happens if we do
yeah, let's forecast that.
Right.
Yeah, it increased. And the approved rating is increasing as well. Okay. Our vaccine has been fully approved, so I could open that instead of the clinical trials, I guess, can be turned off then.
So 10 million of our citizens have been completely vaccinated.
So
with that, I would say that's herd immunity, right? What's
our population is 17 million. I'll just do this quick.
So right, so we only ordered 10 million doses, correct? Or 10 million.
Yeah.
Doses,
so I could make more. 5 million. Or that was development funding. What do you guys think?
Right, so I don't know if you.
I think, like, let's start by 5.
Okay.
And then do we have to wait for that to be developed, or do we get those doses immediately?
I mean, I think that these vaccines have been fully approved. Like the clinical trial portion seems to be over.
Approved.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
the approval rating is shooting down.
some things just turned off. That might be why.
Rating only down like 1%.
Okay.
0.7%.
Let's see.
Does it not look like we're open to Chanmar?
I didn't see the notification appear.
Can somebody go down to travel restrictions and check? Or actually, I think I can see it on your screen. It looks like
It's off right now.
okay, good.
Thank you.
I'm gonna allow domestic. I'm gonna forecast allowing domestic travel. Is that all right?
Yeah.
That looks good.
Like with an allowed 14-day quarantine or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it maybe that's the only way we can do it actually.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it lets us turn that.
And Mr. President, I'd also do the 1,500 remote work visas. It looks like the projections changed because of some of those other decisions.
Okay.
wow, we really killed this. Like 32 positivity cases, people that were so far so good. The magic is here.
Let's keep it up. Let's keep it up.
90% economic health. This is so awesome. Zero
What
or
else can we toggle off? Should I'm gonna.
could we up the approval rating? How can we do that?
I'm forecasting what happens if we just get rid of all of our social distancing measures.
Thailand has reported that they have eliminated the virus in their country.
Was that Myanmar or Hana?
Hana, we can open to them.
I think we should my personal view is that we should open everything up because this is as good as we're going to get. We have wiped out the virus for the last 2 months.
Yes, sir.
I will run a quick check and a forecast.
And should we change our public message to "We mean business"?
Do we need more vaccines though? I'm just checking.
Madam Prime Minister, we are down to 105 days, almost 107 days.
I just improved and opened up a bit, so let's see how it goes.
And
so I turned off the restaurants and retail already. So let's see how people react to it.
Madam Prime Minister, did we change our public message to "We mean business"?
Yes, we did. Thanks.
Thank you.
I think yes, I think would we be able to open up schools just because, reiterating for the last coming up 3 months we haven't had a single case of the virus.
Yep, that's a good idea.
Let's do so, as well as let's put the social distancing enforcement at light. Can we do light?
That will help.
I'll
quickly see the forecast because we're data driven, so I'll just check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And face covering fines, can we put it at high? Because as far as this algorithm goes, it really positively affects our approval rating.
Yes, the approval rating is down by 1, but it has improved since the last report. So.
Let's see what happens. But they are having 0 cases per day.
Approval rating is going up. Oh, 68%. Let's see if we can crack 70. Right.
I wonder if we should regulate the gathering sizes on restaurants and retail. I mean, not close them, not do curbside, just regulate the gathering size.
Do you want to just try restaurants, or which one do you want to do? Both? Or you want to try just one?
It's going to hurt our economic health.
We're sitting pretty good though. We can do that.
We need to though. I mean, we have one. I don't know if.
Yeah.
Is that worth? Because we're especially at the end. If we don't recover it, it's going to hurt us at the end game.
We're at just two positive cases, no deaths.
Yeah, it's funny how it doesn't show up on the graph, but yeah, you're right, Josh. There's at least 1 or 2 there.
Guys, okay. Hannon is imposing lockdown for 2 weeks. Also, they are vaccinating people, but they are still locked down.
So our economic health dropped 23%.
Yeah, when they did that.
Well, we're over regulated sizes.
So we're back at 70% approval, but 68% economic health. It'd be nice to stimulate. What we do that hurt the economy?
I limited gathering size of restaurants and retail.
You want to? All right, let's let that play it out.
We lost money.
Oh, wow.
We're negative.
Yep.
900.
You want to reverse that? What do you think?
I guess we'd have to. We would have to.
I think we're okay, right? We're pursuing perfection, but it was going all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the deaths are continuing even though they're not showing up in the dailies.
Yeah, are you able to see that? Because I can't see it.
I just see it in the total death numbers, but I don't see it on the graph.
Right. I don't know. See, now we're up to 3 positive cases again.
sounds like
Oh, wow.
you're trying to research on us. All right.
Yeah, I'm.
I mean, worst case scenario, we see what happens.
We could shut it down instantly again.
Right.
I think a large majority of our population is vaccinated.
Okay, so that's good. Okay, so then we'll take this off. I'll submit that.
Yeah.
And hopefully that does something for our economy, and maybe let them know that we've just done that.
Okay. Yeah, so our economy shot up about
Right, wait.
Okay.
So I guess we can just maybe focus on getting our approval rating up with the remaining month and a half.
Mm-hmm. Sure, let's see. So decisions. Trying to figure out how we might do that.
The only thing that really makes sense to me, given our current controls, is opening up travel to other countries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
We
not
don't
just
have
happen
any
at all.
other-
The approval rating seems like it's stabilizing.
Yeah, it's stable. It's stable.
Opening domestic travel.
Travel? That's open already. Well, I guess there is the quarantine period. I could lift that. Yeah. Okay, I'll turn this off. That would make sense. Louder. Yes. Okay.
Well, let's just hope nobody travels in that has virus in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope so too.
Still at 0. That's good news.
I mean, we're only 1 month away. I hope this doesn't screw us up.
Yeah, I'm gonna take another picture of this.
I mean, yeah, if anything puts us out, it'll be that massive spike we had at the beginning.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's pretty stable throughout.
I mean, to go from all the way up here to all the way down here is pretty good. I think.
The approval rating is going down. I think it's because we're not taking more measures. Could we take like any significant?
I could put face covering fines.
Yes.
I could do a face mandate again. Okay.
But right, the thing is, I mean, we don't have any cases or any deaths, and most of our population is vaccinated.
I know, but I think people are like panicking. They want to see more care from the government. So
Interesting. I would think the other side of that. I would think that you know.
It's sort of realistic in the sense that after the national crisis is over, we no longer get our kind of COVID honeymoon. Presumably now we're trapped in some sort of very mundane scandal.
Let's make a final message to everyone, like thank everyone for their cooperation.
Yes.
And congratulate everyone. I don't know, everyone eradicated the virus.
I will work on crafting the message. Myanmar has also reported that they are opening the borders with all. So it does seem that we are ready.
And Mr. Prime Minister, and also, if you think we need to put in another small business loan, we have the budget for it. It might help our economy. I know we're at the tail end of this, but it wouldn't hurt to kind of assist our economy a little bit, getting its feedback on it.
A full small business loan?
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's go ahead and do the full one. Let's go ahead and do the full one.
That, like
This time it does seem like it's going to affect our budget, but I don't mind.
But we'll still have 300 million after that in case we need to make any last second decisions. So we're all right.
Okay.
it went a little bit up. Darshan is right. And
okay.
Woo! Great job.
Everybody
I was able to send that communication by the nick of time.
Right.
I've got the
compare and summary pages up. What's
We
on?
have the same total number of deaths as the last game. That's so cool.
It's funny. It looks like the score is not that generous to us. We're actually in third.
There's already a score?
Despite the fact that we have basically 2 deaths. But that's something I feel like I can sell, right? Mr. Prime Minister.
Document these statistics.
Yeah. How do we want to approach peer ranking? Who was best at communicating with us?
Chanmar, by far.
And Chanmar is, yeah, I feel, okay, so do we want to put Chanmar first and then followed by, would it be Gamalino?
So just for context, for the Global Health Fund contribution, Chanmar was the full 1 billion, Gamalino was 1 million, Tandem was 600 million.
What do we look at?
That's the good. That's a positive thing. I think.
How did Moldov only have 2 deaths?
How many? They probably, well, didn't they shut it down right away?
Hammond had 1,300. Gamalino struggled cases. Moldov had 32. They didn't. There ain't no way. How did Moldov didn't have anything? They had 131 total cases, and their reported was 32. We had 1.2 million, and we only had 118. Wow.
But you know, Moldov's population much lower.
Oh, their population, Moldov's only 9.3.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. Ours is super densely populated, and so we're gonna, have a lot more cases. But the fact that the death rate was higher, I think, is pretty important.
We were the highest approval rating, right? I mean,
yeah. Who? We gotta rank these guys. Who was the most communicative? Was it Moldov?
Hey all. Hope that was enjoyable. We have 5 minutes of a break until our next phase. So if you guys can be back in exactly 5 minutes, we'll get started because we're about 12 minutes behind schedule, 12 to 15 minutes behind schedule. So we'll see you soon. Judges, if you'd like to convene in the judge room in the meantime, it's up to you.
It looks like the rooms might be closed.
That room is not open, Sabria.
Oh, the room is not open.
Yeah, I'll open it. Sorry.
We're opening it now.
Thank you.
The door has been unlocked.
Okay, as for the students, please do not move in to the breakout rooms. This is for the judges. So if you get an invitation, you should decline. Right, Wilson.
Hey, all. Sorry. Okay. The judges were just deliberating and talking about your performance in the simulation. It was actually, for full transparency, your simulation scores were all really high. So that was super impressive. Is everyone back on? Not okay. Maybe we can manually bring everyone back in.
Yeah, I don't think they have all returned from the break yet.
Okay, not to worry. It's good. The judges are still convening right now. All right. Hey, everyone. We're going to move rapidly into the next phase. So for full transparency, you all scored exceptionally high on the simulation. So that's amazing. So in terms of the score breakdown, I just want to let you know the total score. So the simulation itself, your quant score from the simulation is about 20%. And then the judges' observation scores on how you performed during the simulation, how you worked together, how you negotiated, forecasted, etc. That's about 25%. And then the meat of the competition is the next phase ahead. So Keun-Hyuk, if you don't mind sharing your screen for the debate directions. I sent you all this in advance, but we'll just go over it real quick and then we'll jump right to it.
Sorry.
Okay, go to the directions. Yes, perfect. So with this, as I mentioned in the email earlier to you, you will have 7 minutes total in your breakout rooms to prepare your arguments and responses to prompts. So the first prompt will just show you in a minute. I think you've already seen it. So and then the presentation of arguments followed. Each team will have about 3 minutes to present their arguments in the main room. 12 minutes total, and then you all will have the opportunity to prepare your rebuttals and devise questions that can essentially demonstrate weaknesses in the other team's argument. If you want to have the other team dissect their argument further, this is a good opportunity to ask them to do this. But use this time when in your breakout rooms to prepare for any questions that may be asked of you. So preemptively, maybe prepare for, if you have time, given 3 minutes is not that long, but if you have some time to maybe just practice a rebuttal or practice a response to someone's question, that would be a good use of time as well. So then during the rebuttal phase, it's 10 minutes total, 2.5 minutes per team. So I've given an example here. If for instance, Gammalino can raise a question or a concern to Moldov, and that you'll have a time limit of 30 seconds. Then Moldov will have 30 seconds to respond. Gammalino can then ask Moldov another question or target a different team like Chanmar. Has 30 seconds to ask a question or make a statement. And then Chanmar has 30 seconds to respond. And then the final 30 seconds, Gammalino can do whatever they want. They can actually ask another question. They can pose another concern. They can use that time in whatever way they choose. So be flexible. It's an opportunity where to use your time wisely. Even if you want to make a closing statement or lead up to the closing statement in those 30 seconds, it's totally fine. So in the last phase, there's the closing statement. Each team has the opportunity, if they didn't feel like they did as well during the rebuttal, you can, this is a good time for you to just summarize your findings, to respond to another team if you ran out of time during that session. So it's really about using your time wisely and making sure you're addressing the other team when they're bringing up concerns or they're seeing flaws in your argument. Or and remember that everything pertains to the simulation. You're not to use any outside information. So that's super key, because all the evidence you're going to be drawing from is that you're going to be drawing from the simulation itself. So that makes your lives a bit easier, but it's also, you make sure to utilize screenshots graphs, whatever you've saved throughout the day. So we'll actually start now. I don't think the judges are back just yet. So I will actually introduce prompt number 1. So Keun-Hyuk, if you can. Yes. So your first prompt is, it is necessary for countries to cooperate and share information with one another in order to mitigate the spread of the virus. So now you have 7 minutes to work on developing your arguments in your breakout rooms. And Keun-Hyuk will start the clock as soon as you go into your breakout rooms.
Yeah, so you can move into your breakout rooms at your convenience. Just press the breakout rooms icon on the bottom and move in. And when I direct you to come back, please do so promptly, because I won't be opening and closing breakout rooms like before. Right, so move into breakout rooms. And I'll send you a broadcast message when I start the clock.
Sorry, guys. Can you help me to take me to the breakout rooms, please?
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to have to move you to a different room, then I'll move you back into Chatma straight away, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Maxim, are you having trouble moving into your room? Mr. Singman, you're muted. Right. Okay, sorry, I'm not sure why this is happening, but I'm going to restart the clock and restart the breakout rooms, okay?
Thank you.
All right, everyone. This is a recap. The first prompt was, it is necessary for countries to cooperate and share information with one another in order to mitigate the spread of the virus. And in no particular order, we'll have Moldov go first. And you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Adam Thorpe. I'm the Prime Minister of Moldov. Moldov's remarkable success in the late pandemic. 2 deaths, only 131 cases in the country. A small fraction of the epidemic experienced in other countries in the region, is intrinsically connected to our commitment to global cooperation. We understood that nobody would be safe until the whole region eliminated the virus. This understanding is part of Moldov's DNA. As a global nation, dependent on tourism and the mixing of cultures, we understood that we could not afford to face the crisis alone. We took concrete steps to secure global cooperation. At the beginning of the pandemic, we disclosed our strategic approach to our partners, committed to sharing our own data frequently, and asked our peer nations to do the same. We think the record is clear. No nation was more proactive about sharing the information their peers needed to respond to the crisis. We are proud of how the whole region and its peoples responded to this crisis, but we do believe more lives could have been saved, the economy would have been improved, and public confidence better preserved had our peer nations responded to our request for information in a more fulsome way, and if all the nations of the region had contributed fully to the Global Health Fund. This time of tragedy is not a time for recriminations. It's a time for learning lessons so that the next pandemic can be better responded to. The most important lesson to take away from the late pandemic is the value of cooperation in responding to global health crises. The virus will not respect borders, and neither should we when it comes to decision-making, data disclosure, and financial support for pandemic fighting efforts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Moldov. We will have Gamalino go next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Kopkov. I'm in New York, and I am the Prime Minister of Gamalino. To counter what Adam Thorpe said, we were in agreement that while it may be beneficial for countries to communicate with one another, it is in no way necessary in terms of mitigating the spread of the virus. At least this was the case within our country. We decided as a team and as a government that it was more important to focus on our citizens' well-being. The health of our citizens came first when it came to mitigating the virus. The use of contact tracing within our own borders helped us to eliminate the virus more than the communication between other countries did. Focusing on our own personal economy and not on what others were doing was more beneficial to us in terms of trying to stop the spread than by being focused on what other countries were doing. What other countries did had no impact on our personal decisions. And in the end, communication was not completely necessary for us. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gamalino. Now we will have Chanmar.
Hi, my name is Lexi Jensen. I was the Minister of Public Health. I'm going to pass it on to some other teammates as we work through this. So first, our country does completely understand the reliance other countries have on us and the reliance that we have on other countries. For example, Moldov relies on tourism very heavily from Chanmar. So we did not want to make a decision without telling other countries. Cooperation is really important. We wanted to consider the ways that our policy decision could hurt the other countries. And it was also difficult if we didn't know how long other countries were planning on staying closed, especially because some of the countries closed really, really early. So transparency would have helped a lot in that sense. And having a heavy reliance on other countries caused a lot of economic disruption, or it can cause a lot of disruption if it suddenly ends and we don't know when it's going to get back on track.
All right, my name is Matt Lethine, and I was the finance minister. I'll also drive home a point that Lexi made, which is that we endeavor to maintain open borders with the other countries for as long as we could until the pandemic data actually emerged, and it was a data-driven decision to then shut down, really prioritizing that cooperation with the other 3 countries. Some of our other neighboring countries shut down immediately, which really wasn't evidence or data based. Finally, that our success is really in cooperation and communication are reflected in our country's approval rating, which was consistently #1 among the 4 countries.
Hi, I'm Josh Carlin. I was served as the Prime Minister for Myanmar. The other thing we wanted to elaborate on is that we understood travel is vital to improving the economic impact. With closed borders can cause deficiencies in all countries. Solidarity, resilience, and empathy with other countries is not only about moral consideration, it's a necessity in an interconnected world. Our philosophy behind this entire simulation is that none of us are safe until all of us are safe. So that relies on free flowing communication between all 4 countries along with the rest of the world.
Thank you, Chair Mar. Now we will have Hanum.
Hello, my name is Renee Carpella, and I represented the WHO. I want to go ahead and reiterate the question. It is necessary for countries to cooperate. Is it necessary for countries to cooperate and share information with one another in order to mitigate the spread of the virus? Absolutely. I believe that it is extremely important that communication between countries are placed, especially during pandemics or during any particular outbreak before it's issued as a pandemic. Now, I want to go ahead and target our economic impacts due to our close connections with Myanmar because some of our population does work in that particular country. I would emphasize the importance of communication across borders. We see the importance of this, especially during times of outbreak. If there was an individual returning back from Myanmar coming to our particular country, we would like to go ahead and mitigate that, right, to prevent the spread. Also, moving forward, I would like to also incline about the cultural aspects of all our countries. We are a tight-knit base, so we tend to do things interactively, and because of this, we had the mindset, and we kept reiterating it in the simulation, that we're in this together. Although Hanum did have what some people would categorize as a third world country, we did contribute generously based on that, with a $700,000 contribution, $700 million contribution. So we did try to put our best foot forward. And that's all I got to say for now.
All right, thank you, team. So now you will have 3 minutes total to go to your breakout rooms and prepare rebuttals. Keun-Hyuk, what's our time?
1 minute, 12 seconds remaining.
Okay. Hi all. Okay, so the first team that will deliver their rebuttal is Moldov. And you have 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Supriya. So just good evening or good morning for those in other time zones. My name is Darshan Parikh. I am the Minister of Finance in Moldov. And this question is for Hanam's World Health Organization or Minister of Finance representative. So your gross domestic product is multiples of our own in Moldov, and your budget is substantially higher than ours. And had you contributed, to the Global Health Fund fully, that investment would have been totally recouped. So we donated in Moldov the maximum amount, $1 billion, to the Global Health Fund because we felt it would maximize the ability of the region to respond and recover efficiently from the effects of this deadly pandemic. So we'd ask at this point, why did you choose to donate 60, and I believe you mentioned $700 million, so 70% of your total available contribution. And do you agree that increasing your fund contribution would have improved our region's response and returned our citizens to normalcy sooner?
Certainly, I'd be more, as the Minister of Finance for Hanam, I'd be more than happy to answer your question. In relation to this, I'd just quickly note that as Moldov, you have a population just a smidge over 9 million, and your starting budget was $300 million. Hanam has a population of 200 million people, and we ended up with a starting budget of only 100 million more than you. Ultimately, this meant that we didn't have the option of direct stimulus. We were really restricted in terms of our ability to offer loans to our small businesses. And so as a result, we contributed what we could ultimately. In reality, on a per population basis, far, far more than Moldov did.
All right, for our second question, my name is Tiffany Oliva and I'm Moldov's Minister of Communication. This is a question for Chanmar. We stepped up as Moldov and took a global leadership role by encouraging our peer countries to share our effectivity, positivity, and border status. We certainly appreciated that Chanmar did communicate with us. However, don't you think it is important to take a further step and share specific data outcomes on an ongoing basis with peer countries so that each respective country can make data-driven decisions? It did take some time before Chanmar began to share those data, and it only reflected positivity rates.
Okay, time's up for this session.
So next up, Gamalino.
Sure, so I'll direct this question at Moldov. So you all talked a lot about the actual use of the data and communication within the simulation. But I guess we didn't really see how communicating within the simulation actually helped you all or any other team, to be frank. Right, while in the real world it would be beneficial. to communicate. Like we agree with that, but the prompt was to only focus on the simulation, and we just didn't see any benefit from communication within the simulation. So I guess the question would be, can you maybe talk about some real results you saw from using communication within the simulation? Did it improve your economic approval rating? Did it improve your, did it reduce your death count? And can you elaborate on how so?
I think we think the core mechanism is decisions about opening and closing borders. We were pretty aggressive about closing borders at the beginning of the match, but we felt like that open flow of communication would allow us to open borders as soon as we saw that other countries had eliminated the virus. And we think that did have an effect. You know, I do think we're pretty proud of our result in terms of especially the number of deaths. Of course, there are a lot of factors in a game like this, in a pandemic like this, but our estimation is that was an important factor in the fact that we only had 2 deaths, you know, a tiny fraction the number of deaths other countries had. And I think we're quite proud of our approval rating and economic performance as well. You know, we do think that communication and more communication would have helped more, is also what we believe, that more communication would have been even more helpful in terms of allowing us to open those borders.
Yeah. Next question.
Okay, if there are no more questions or responses, we can move on to Chanmar.
Thank you. So we want to address a question to Gamalino. You know, our main focus throughout this entire pandemic control was cooperation and teamwork on the international platform. We attempted to reach out several times to Gamalino to understand their strategies and their performance is containing the virus. And that presented challenges to us because we wanted to ensure our citizens had the ability to freely and safely travel, along with resuming international trade. So their strategy of focusing and protecting on their citizens was challenging to us in our country and our citizens because we couldn't open those borders without definitive data and communication. So that strategy seems a little challenging on an international sector like this. Maybe if they were isolated to an island, but when you share borders with other countries, why exactly do you think that is the best policy in the long run for your citizens as well as other citizens on the world stage?
Okay, so I will also answer to Maldav. They were asking us about communication. I just wanted to say that we did show the data, and also in this situation, the best that we can do is try to put ourselves in the position of the other countries and try to keep consensus through communication. So I think we did our best taking account the situation that we had.
Okay, we'll move on to Hanum.
Thanks, everyone. Hi, this is Peggy, Prime Minister of Hanum. I just want to make a point where the origin of the pandemic actually started from Hanum, and we have done our very best to communicate this message to all countries so that each and every one of you can take preventive measures at the very early start. So I would say we have helped or contributed to the success of the overall region in combating the pandemic. And we continue to keep regular communication with all countries during the entire period of time with the help of our WHO representative and Minister of Communications. And we're very practical and result driven, and we value the long-term relationships beyond the pandemic so that we can achieve recovery in the entire region more quickly. So a question to Gamalino, like we as a developing country, we have contributed our part above average to the global fund, but what is the rationale behind of Gamalino's contribution? And also to Moldov, like we are, of course, have a lot of like border relationships that are shared, and you have a lot of resources as well to protect like your people, but is there any also measures that you would also support the region, given that you are started off in a much well-off position than the others? Thank you.
Yeah, so I can jump in. we contributed so little due to sort of the what we learned from the last competition and sort of a prisoner's dilemma perspective, where we put in quite a bit in the past competition, and a lot of other countries in our region put in nothing or very little. So we sort of just assume, learning from history, that that would be the similar case here. And I haven't looked at the numbers, but I'm assuming due to your question, that was not the case.
And just for Moldov, we contributed the maximum to the Global Health Fund. We thought we were very proactive about transparency. We felt like we were pretty aggressive about contributing to people as much as possible, contributing to the region's health as much as possible. I don't know that it might, like I said, we want to learn lessons from this. So if people can identify other channels where we could have been more helpful, that would be a good point. But we feel like the channels we saw, we tried to give as much as we could.
Thank you both. We would really appreciate that future cooperation can be more like further open and friendly, creating a friendly culture within the region. And one question for Chanmar is that we understand our migrant workers from Hanam has been going to Chanmar, and we are very concerned about their health and safety as well. So we try to reach out and ask if any support is needed, but
Okay, time's up.
Okay, thank you all. You now have 2 minutes in your breakout rooms to prepare a 1-minute closing statement. Hi all. So Moldov, please deliver your closing statement in response to the prompt. You have a minute.
Moldov wants to be clear that we would not have been able to respond to the virus without the help of our peer nations. This is the time to drive that point home. Transparency worked, and we need to build these channels of communication into the future. The results speak for themselves. Only 2 of our citizens died. As a tourism-based country, Moldov recognized the importance of sharing ongoing information and collaborating with our peer countries, so we could open our borders as soon as the data suggested it was safe to do so. Moldov took a global leadership role at the outset of the pandemic to encourage collaboration. Moldov was only one of 2 countries that contributed the full $1 billion to the Global Health Fund, knowing that there would have been a positive return on investment for all of our neighboring nations, regardless of their starting economic positions. Because we recognize that Moldov, being contiguous to all 3 countries, is only as strong as its most vulnerable peer country. All decisions that were made were data-driven. We took actions that placed value on every life, and we wanted to be able to collaborate as much as possible with our peer countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Maldov. Gamalino.
Hi, everyone. So while communicating may be beneficial, it was not necessary in terms of Gamalino's economic and social well-being. We did communicate the situation of our borders and our different statistics in terms of deaths and how we flattened our curve. But communication with others did not prove to have such a large impact on our data and numbers in terms of mitigating the virus, which is why we believe and stand by our opinion that communication with others was not completely necessary. Our main focus, again, was saving our citizens and benefiting the economic well-being of our country, and it proved that we did not need communications to do that. Though we do understand why and how communicating, especially when sharing borders, is necessary in the situation, it didn't prove to be completely effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Gamalino. Chanmar.
Thank you. The Myanmar government is extremely proud of how we served our people and led them through this pandemic. We were data driven, we were transparent, we were focused on the economy. We were always looking for ways to cooperate and communicate with our regional partners. We were the other country that contributed the maximum amount to the Global Health Fund, and we did not restrict borders or travel until the actual pandemic data justified it. We really understand that government serves to represent and lead its people. We took an approach in our policy actions and decisions that considered equitable interests within Myanmar. Government must meet the needs of its citizens, and our approval rating, we were #1, reflects the legitimacy and the faith that our people had in the performance of us as our government. Finally, I'll share and end with our theme. None of us are safe until all of us are safe.
Thank you, Chanmar. Hanum.
Hanum wants to go ahead and point out that upon the first confirmed case, we went ahead and did our state of emergency, declared our state of emergency. We want to go ahead and emphasize that communication is key to prevent the spread of any virus, and that these cooperations within each other's borders would go beyond the pandemic. And this is what we need to emphasize. This is what we need to remember. Now, also pointing out our strengths is that we were able to increase our approval rating. We were able to eventually vaccinate our whole population. So again, Hanum has eradicated the virus in our particular country, and we are very proud of that. So great job, Hanum team.
Thank you, Hanum. So this just wraps our first round, wraps up our first round for the debate. And Keun-Hyuk, you have some reminders for the participants?
Yes, before I bring up the second prompt, make sure that you keep your questions concise during the rebuttal round. Most of you went over, well, close to a minute, and the other team, and one team in particular, asked the question and answered their own question. So you should make sure you should give the other teams an opportunity to answer. I kept things somewhat lenient during the first round, since it was the first round, but I'm going to start cutting people off at the minute from here on forth. Okay, so should we move on to the second prompt?
Yes, and we'll have Judge Harcel read the second prompt.
Right. Sharing screen. Oops, sorry.
Okay, the second prompt for communication. Public service and education messages for non-compliant populations is more effective than mandating or requiring compliance for certain behaviors such as social distancing and masking. I'll go ahead and read that one more time. Public service and education messages for non-compliant populations is more effective than mandating or requiring compliance for certain behaviors such as social distancing and masking. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you all. You'll be entering your breakout rooms and you'll have 7 minutes to prepare your argument. All right, hi all. The first team that will present their arguments and has will have 3 minutes is Hanam.
Hi, my name. Oops, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, I heard Cannon. Go ahead.
No, thank you. I am the Minister of Public Health of Hanam. I would like to start off by saying that Hanam is a country with 200 million population, a very low to middle income country. And this large population, which happens to be highly, very low in literacy rates, is a very complex context to deal with from a policy point of view. And a lot of the people, due to being socially and economically disenfranchised, are very vulnerable and often sending messages which are public service announcements and institutionally educating the population may not be the correct route, because we did not have the luxury of time. And one of the main reasons for it is that Hanam is the country with one of the first infection rates infected identified. So in order to really quickly correct this discourse that was about to take place, we had to really implement strict measures which required us to take the hardcore policies and not to complicate things for our huge population, which happens to be low income and middle income and low in literacy rates. So I believe that this message varies from country to country. It depends on the context. And in the context of Hanam, it is very important for strict measures. And if we look at our approval rating, we started off our simulation with 50% approval rating, and we went up to 65%. So if we see the population of Hanam was very complacent and very cooperative with the government's policies, even though they were on the hard line and on the stricter side. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanam. Next, we have Chanmar.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Lexi Jensen. I was the Minister of Public Health for Chanmar. So the Chanmar government would first like to argue that both of these elements are critical to combating the pandemic. A government simply cannot pick one or the other. So we required social distancing and heavy fines for not complying with mandates, especially when the infection and death rate spiked. We had to remain balanced when we made decisions. We had to, of course, communicate with the population, but we also had to keep them safe. So this is done by imposing restrictions on the population, but it must be well communicated that this is for their own good and that we're in this together. Of course, there's no one size fits all solution to mitigating a viral pandemic. So remaining flexible would have been impossible without that balance. We had to scale up and scale down the mandates and policies based on the data that we were getting and based on what we were hearing from other countries. We had to find a balance to target high quality of life, of course, and low infection rates. In a pandemic, it's impossible to implement a single set of policies and expect success. So we had to continue communicating with the public to let them know why these changes were being made, why they were important. Stopping the pandemic was reliant partly on the government's decision and the decisions of others, but it was also reliant on the population and ensuring that they cared as much about these restrictions as we did. So again, these decisions were not made hastily. We considered everything. We considered our decisions, how they would affect the population, because at the end of the day, we needed to keep them safe, even if that meant having stricter guidelines at times, and then having lighter restrictions at other times. So dynamic government really was key here. Society needs to trust us, and if we're not making decisions that reflect the needs of the people, trust will plummet, and the country and the region will never recover. Thank you.
Thank you, Chanmar. Gamalino.
Hi, everyone. I was the Minister of Finance for Gabalino. We believe that when discussing the non-compliant population, we're discussing a subset of the population that, regardless of what the data shows, will likely not listen to public service or educational messages. We can have data that clearly shows the effectiveness of masks and social distancing, but at the end of the day, this non-compliant subset is likely set in their ways. And for this subset of the population, we believe mandates and legal implications can be critical in ensuring the overall health of our nation. And we would be in favor of mandates. While some may consider this an overstep of the government, we do understand this perspective, but We also believe that in times of crisis, in order to ensure the greatest good for all, it is the government's role to mandate compliance, especially when these decisions can have such a catastrophic impact on the greater population. And I'll pass it over to Amanda for some comments.
I'll just add that our country throughout the pandemic kept a motto of "We're in this together" as our public service messaging, as well as keeping our masking fines at a minimum. And both of these, both laws, mandates, as well as messaging, did prove effective in compliance with mask wearing and in terms of getting our numbers lower and down.
Thank you, Gamelina. Last but not least, Moldov.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maria, and I am the Minister of Public Health for Moldov. We believe that both approaches are important. However, we always made sure our words and public messaging matches our actions. Moldov will prioritize our country of 9 million's overall health, regardless of political questions or approval ratings. This meant some mandates that restricted our citizens' behavior. Those mandates may well have resulted a lower approval rating, but the data, however, is clear. Our aggressive approach minimized the pandemic's death toll. Moldov experienced the lowest numbers of deaths at 2 deaths and lowest numbers of true cases at 131. That does not necessarily validate every decisions made, but on balance, we believe it produces a compelling record of accomplishment. We called a state of emergency and established social distancing measures the moment the first case was reported in our country. The public messaging is important, but it is also important that actions match the words we speak. We will not sacrifice lives for our political careers. We want to find ways to limit the numbers, and that's it.
Thank you, Moldov. So now y'all have 3 minutes total in your breakout rooms to prepare rebuttals.
So wasn't it 2 minutes? 3 minutes? Okay, it's 3 minutes, sorry.
3 minutes, yes. Hey all, I sorry about that. I gave you an additional minute to prepare your rebuttal, but all right. So the first team that will proceed with delivering their rebuttal, you have 2.5 minutes, is Hanum.
Good afternoon. Our question is to Chanma. We noticed that you guys really emphasized that a hybrid approach worked well for you. It didn't seem as though, we would just like to ask, if you were in the situation of Hanum, where you had a total population more than the rest of the region combined, and you had a very illiterate population, and you identified a case in your very first week, do you still think that that hybrid approach would be appropriate?
Absolutely. So our approach towards mitigating this pandemic was a tripod approach. So each leg has a tripod: citizen approval, economic impact, and human life. And if we cater to one or the other, the tripod fails and the whole government collapses. So by focusing and keeping that balance, maintaining legitimacy through public approval, data-driven decisions, and understanding that that's our role as government, is to focus on all economic classes of citizens within our country. So while balancing the mandates or the restrictions, we wanted to focus on the illiterate population, as you mentioned, or the lower social classes or the higher social classes. So to find this balance and cater to all needs was very crucial.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we would have loved to have really had the luxury of taking that approach. Would you? What are your thoughts, Chanel? Oh, sorry, Moldov.
We felt fairly confident in our approach. I think it's worth noting that our budget was not very large, and we were exceptionally exposed to the consequences of a pandemic in terms of border closures. Just as a tourism-based economy, it was difficult, and that involved real sacrifices. And I do think, like I said, like as we've noted in the past, I think the more we can do to contribute to a strong response across the region through things like contributing to the Global Health Fund, the better.
Thank you very much. I guess while that might be the case, on a per capita basis, you had 20 times the funds that we did, and so it really forced us into a position of acting aggressively.
I do think it's worth noting, if you had contributed fully, the funds would have been recouped. The more we all contributed, the more we all got back. And I do think, that is just something as a lesson learned to think about into the future.
That certainly might have been the case, but unlike yourselves, we actually had the very real reality of perhaps people starving.
And then also, Madoff, if you were so confident about your...
Okay, time's up.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Chanmar.
Okay, great. Our first question is for Moldov. So Moldov, you relied on an approach that was self-admittedly aggressive, and it was overly reliant on enforcement and mandates. You were the first country to require mandatory mask wearing, first country to go with fines for non-compliance. And you quickly reverted and adopted a draconian measure to close borders before the data supported it. And you really did that at the expense of your people. How can you possibly justify this?
I apologize. We have 2 deaths, and I think your country had 16 times the per capita death rate that we did. I feel that validates, honestly, our aggressive approach, the evidence suggests that it was the wisest approach if you value public health as a first priority. And of course, different countries can weigh different priorities differently, and I think that's a totally valid approach. But that was our approach, was to be, as you said, aggressive.
I appreciate that. Then can you explain why your approval rating didn't reflect that? Why did your people not show that faith in your country?
Because we did take aggressive measures, and I think that it probably did result in inconveniences in the lives of our citizens. And as I think we noted in our opening, our political careers as individual politicians are just not worth as that much, in our estimation, compared to the lives of our citizens.
Josh, did you have a question for Gamalino?
Yes. So you mentioned that you were non-compliant citizens were set in their ways, and but you're only periodically in favor of mandates. In what ways could you implement policies to sway the balances of both sides of compliant and non-compliant citizens? I know that you did, of course, did not solely cater your policies towards specific populations. So how did you strike the balance to mitigate those?
I don't think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so we did implement a mixed approach, as most countries mentioned. So we had the public messaging for the compliant sector, and then we had the mandates, moderate to high when needed for the non-compliant sector. So we were just trying to strike a balance throughout the whole process.
Great, thank you.
Okay, time's up.
Okay, thank you. We have Gamalino.
Okay, so our question is pretty much directed to Chanmar. Chanmar, you hammered on the idea that you're having an approach where you use public messaging with strict measures. However, at a time of a crisis, at a time where people are dying, where people are getting very highly infected, do you think that public messaging as equally as an approach is as effective as having strict measures? Or what do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can't be overly reliant on enforcement because you need to partner with your community and your people through education. And that only comes through messaging. If you're not sharing really what you intend to do, how you intend to do it, and why you're doing it, your people are going to lose faith in your government as representative of really serving them and their needs. But that's why we took that balanced approach with communication to couple with enforcement.
I will also add that in a crisis requires people to be informed and involved in the decisions that are affecting them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have Moldov.
Hello, my name is Darshan. Again, I'm the Minister of Finance for Moldov. And this question is directed at or is for Chanmar, and it's kind of related to what you already brought up in our previous discussion. So, you know, we understand that you placed a significant importance on your relatively high approval rating. We totally get it. And we understand that the underlying factors behind wanting to place so much importance on it. But given this, you know, the disheartening 18,000 dead in your nation and the 16-fold per capita death rate, you know, do you believe you place too high an importance on your approval rating as opposed to taking steps to actually fighting the spread of the pandemic in your nation and then consequently our greater region?
Yeah, so that's a great point. You know, when you look at our per capita, we have such a large population as well. So obviously, our goal was to mitigate the spread of the virus first. Once we did that, we had the unfortunate sacrifice of the economy to do that with the lockdown restrictions. Then we focused on balancing the approval ratings. And as we ease those restrictions, the economic impact, and we mitigated the virus, we saw a rise in approval ratings. So we focused the entire time on keeping the balance between the three of them. We wanted to mitigate the virus and reduce loss of life. We wanted to maintain our high approval ratings, and we also wanted to maintain our economy as well. So we had to implement our policies accordingly to cater to all three of those.
And we also had to make decisions while considering the makeup of the population, the fact that we had a really high population, it was very urban, very densely populated. So making these decisions, of course, we knew that we weren't going to be, you know, down at 0 deaths or no deaths. There were going to be some. And so we had to emphasize communication just as a way to keep everybody informed and keep them as low as possible, because we couldn't just completely shut everything down, even if we wanted to. We had to let them know to what extent we could do things and how we were limited.
We had another question for Hanum. We may not have time. Public policy involves trade-offs. We encountered them ourselves. How did you think about the trade-off between approval ratings and public health that might be associated with strict public health mandates?
As the Prime Minister of Hanum, I would say our focus for public health is always the R ratio below 1. This is always the key, and the approval ratings and the economic health would come afterwards, as long as our people are safe. So this would be the key requisite for us. So that's why we are not sacrificing, we are not trading off for approval ratings. And we also make sure that actually public health by results, public health measures actually bring us better approval ratings because our people understand what we are doing and they understand us.
Okay, before we move on to the next round, Hanum, are you missing a student by any chance?
Yes, we are. He's unfortunately, I think the internet has gone off at his home, and he's going. I think it might be another quarter of an hour until he gets to his relations place that has an internet connection.
Yeah, there was a storm in Bangladesh that hurt the connectivity in the area that he's living in. So
yeah, there's a power outage.
Oh, not to worry. It's okay.
Right.
No, we just wanted to make sure he was okay. So
Yeah.
thank you for that update. Okay, you all have 2 minutes to prepare your closing statements in your breakout rooms. Thank you.
Hi. Sorry, could you please put me into the Hanum breakout room?
Sorry, are you having trouble entering the breakout room?
Yes, I disconnected for some reason. Sorry.
Right, I'll put you back in.
Keun-Hyuk?
Mommy.
It's the rebuttal stage.
It's 3 minutes and closing 2 minutes.
Okay, rebuttal is 3 minutes. Okay.
So you're right, I was wrong.
All right, we'll give them an extra minute the next time. 3 minutes for rebuttal. Okay. I actually didn't specify, to be honest.
Sorry?
I didn't specify the time
Oh.
for, so it's we'll just do 3 minute rebuttal preparations. I think that's fair. Okay, so we have Hanum.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for the time. I would like to point out the importance of Hanum's team using only data-driven decisions based on the current simulation and not those in the previous simulation. Also, Malta, if your policies were so great and you're emphasizing the number of deaths, why didn't you not relax the freedoms for to return back to normal in your particular area? Such as Hanum, we did not have that luxury. We kept seeing the increasing number of deaths, correct? So again, that is probably why your approval ratings were so low. You failed to listen to your own people and worry about more about finances and the number of lives, but individually for your country, not on a global state, especially during a pandemic. Don't you think this would have been key, especially in this simulation? Also, Hanum wants to point out that we had a total population of more than all the other 3 countries involved. So this made it more complex. Again, our population is illiterate and more.
Okay, sorry, time's up.
Okay, Chanmar.
Well, hi everyone, I'm Maria and I'm the Minister of Communication of Myanmar, and we would like to say that citizen approval, economic impact, and human life is the tripod of managing a pandemic. Balancing all of three of these keeps the tripod intact and functioning. It's important to have a human right approach because health is a right, but at the same time, economics, and social rights are important. We understand that per capita deaths appear to be high. However, you cannot compare countries based on deaths. You have to consider everything from the way their population lives to the jobs that they have to how densely their population is. There is going to be more spread and deaths in Myanmar, a densely populated country compared to a rural country like Hanoi, for instance. Unfortunately, is not a way around.
Sorry, time's up.
Thank you, Gamalino.
Okay, so we as Gomalino, we would like to point out the very fact that with large populations or any population really, you can't serve it all with only messaging and education, whereas there are going to be non-compliant citizens and there are going to be compliant citizens. So you can't always ensure that education is always going to be key for having people following measures and then hence limiting the number of cases or the pandemic as an overall situation. So being compliant isn't always the case. So yes, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Malda.
This is Maria, the Minister of Public Health. We believe that the evidence of only 2 deaths and 131 total true cases validates our approach. Public confidence in economic health can be restored. Indeed, a strong public health response will, we believe, bolster both measures over the long term. Lives once lost are lost forever. We found ways to limit the number of people infected at the earliest stage. Therefore, we believe requiring compliance for social distancing and masking is necessary. It is also important to roll back those mandates and measures just as soon as the data showed it was safe, which despite what Hanam noted, we were able to do halfway through the pandemic. Our data show that our approach to non-compliant populations work on our overall objective. Prevention is better than cure. Public safety is more important than politics. In the end, we all have to make sacrifices in order to save lives.
Thank you, Maldaf. This concludes round 2. We're going to begin round 3 shortly. So Keun-Hyuk, if you could display the prompt 3. And Judge McFarland, please read prompt 3 for the competitors.
All right, prompt 3. Countries should not pursue virus mitigation policies that come at the expense of the economic health and well-being of the country.
Thank you. So teams, you have 7 minutes total in your breakout rooms to prepare your arguments. Okay. Hi all. So first up we have Chanmar.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lexi Jensen. I was the Minister of Public Health for Myanmar. The economic health of a country can be recovered. Take Myanmar, for example. We saw fluctuations the entire time in simulation in our economic health. But by the end, even though we had seen it dip at times, it was back up to 100. You can't save lives if you only cater to the economy. Lives are needed for the economy to thrive. So public trust was a massive part of our approach. If we constantly made decisions that sacrificed the public health to preserve the economy later, public trust was going to be nearly impossible to obtain. We had over a year to recognize the pandemic, make the appropriate decisions to combat the pandemic, and then recover. That means we had plenty of time for economic decisions. The most pressing need was making decisions that benefited the people, and we felt that it was necessary to hold steady at no deaths and no infections before focusing on the economy again. The deaths could have very easily gotten out of control, and there's no way to fix that or recover from that. However, as I said, the economy can be fixed, and we saw that it was fixed by the end. Businesses can be reopened, the government can collect taxes, and people can begin spending money again, creating a situation where the country is in the position to re-energize the government. The economy is key. Therefore, by following with our main theme, we made data-driven decisions to ensure that this was happening.
We also want to say that the pandemic is more than a health crisis. It's a socioeconomic crisis, a humanitarian crisis, a security crisis, and a human rights crisis. It affects us all as individuals, as families, communities, and societies. Virus mitigation policies will by nature have potentially severe economic impacts. We chose to follow the 4 phases of emergency management when we implement our policies. We prepare for the pandemic by targeting policies to reduce spread and containment. Then we respond to the current spread and deaths by implementing response policies. The next phase was recovery, where we focused on economic recovery and approval rating. We slowly opened up and resumed travel. Finally, the 4th phase, mitigation, where we implemented policies that reduce future spread of the virus, as well as negative economic impacts. This was our strategy all along. We feel that it paid off in the end.
Okay, thank you, Chanmar. Hanam.
As the Prime Minister of Hanum disagrees with the prompt. Hanum puts the interest of our people in the very first place, and we believe people are what constitutes the nation. Even Hanum is a developing country. Economic downturn is a temporary thing for us, but lives lost would be permanent. Human capital is always the key to long-term sustainable development of a country, especially Hanum needs to make the transition from a developing country to a more prosperous nation. Therefore, we take a hard stance on virus mitigation over economic well-being in the short run. And it's time to break the stereotypes, everyone. The best economic response is the public health response. Hanum, with all of our efforts, we have achieved the best economic health, achieving 96.9, while maintaining fiscal health 99.7. So it is a balance that we can take and achieve, even though we take a hard stance on public health. And on absolute terms, we have doubled our economy as a developing country. We are a labor-intensive and a densely populated country. The government of Hanum understands the situation closely of our country, and combined with our expertise, we handle the messy situation of the pandemic really well, even things move very fast. So virus mitigation has proven to be the most effective way to defend our country in front of the pandemic and protecting the people and instituting the prioritizing the health and safety of all our people. We appreciate that we buy time. We use policies to buy time for more lives, and afterwards we can save the money and the lives that we can build a better and stronger economy. So after the economy, I would say Hanum has come out from a weak economy to a country that is more united and stronger and healthier. And we are confident that towards the next phase of our country's development, Hanum would very soon be very developed as well as our neighboring countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Maldov.
Good evening, good morning. My name is Darshan Parikh. I'm the Minister of Finance for Moldova. We're proud of our economic and public health record. Our economic rating was only slightly below the highest rating achieved, with a fraction of the deaths our neighbors experienced. Ultimately, there was not a significant trade-off between economic performance and public health. And indeed, that was the theory that guided our strategy from the onset of the pandemic. Plainly spoken, we understand that the sooner we suppress the virus, the sooner the country and the region could get back to work. We knowingly took an aggressive virus mitigation stance early on despite our nation's dependence on tourism. We knew that the faster cases fell, deaths fell, and borders were reopened, the faster our economy and the economy of the region, and most importantly, the health of the region would rebound positively. We tended to our economy through the simulation while at the same time keeping our deaths and cases low. We mitigated the initial impact to our economy by issuing remote work visas, issuing stimulus funding, providing small business loans to our particularly impacted communities, and opening up our businesses in a safe and phased approach that was data-driven, all while focusing on the mitigation measures such as mask mandates and vaccinating our entire nation. Given our exposure to the consequences of the pandemic as a tourism-dependent nation, we feel our ultimate performance is something to be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Moldav. Gamalino.
Hi, everyone. Again, I was the Prime Minister of Gamalino, and we too disagree with the prompt. We, the leaders of Gamalino, believe it is necessary to pursue virus mitigation policies, even at the expense of economic health and well-being, because at the end of the day, the main focus is saving the lives of our citizens. We recognize that we did not act fast enough in testing our citizens or enacting safety measures and regulations at the get-go of the pandemic. But once we did, our case numbers began to decrease at a rapid rate. We kept the spirits of our citizens up by reinforcing the idea that we were in this together by implementing small business loans and the like. And once our health status better, we began to open up restaurants, bars, places of worship, etc. again, and our economy began to increase with it along with our approval ratings. In the end, it is important to forego economic health when the lives of citizens are at stake. And with that, I will pass it over to our Finance Minister, Ryan.
So with that being said, countries should pursue mitigation policies at the expense of economic health and well-being to an extent. It's clear that this is another area where a balance has to be struck. The ultimate goal is risk mitigation because we know that risk elimination for the entire country is not feasible until we reach herd immunity or a large percent of the population is vaccinated. Getting risk to a manageable level is crucial before the economy can be reopened and restrictions can be lifted. When risk is brought to a manageable level where minimal lives will have been lost, our economy was reopened. We realized it was not feasible to reduce loss of life to zero, but we ensured that by the time we were ready to reopen, the virus was contained. And following our reopening, we experienced no deaths and our economic rating finished very high.
Okay, thank you, Gamalino. So you have 3 minutes to prepare your rebuttals. Okay, Chanmar, you're up first.
Okay, thank you. Maria, the Minister of Communication for Sharma, and I want to ask Maldov about this. The decision made by Maldov, even though they were made to preserve the economy, this will result in detrimental long-term impacts that result in severely lower quality of life in the country, like hunger, insecurity, and different issues related with social crisis. How do you propose fixing these issues in the country? Do you think it was worth? How you will fix the social crisis produced by your strict decisions? Thank you.
I appreciate the question. So, we understand why you're asking that, but at the end of the day, what's going to have the bigger impact on our nation's future and our region's economy and public health in general? Is it going to be a swing that we need to send the economy in the other direction? Do we need to put more stimulus, or is it going to be millions and millions of deaths that's going to impact our workforce? We're not going to have the families and economic workforce to be able to even respond to that and stimulate our economy. And we simply thought that we needed to mitigate the spread and get ahead of it before we got to that point, before we lost hundreds of thousands of lives and potentially millions of lives.
And I would just like to add that despite those restrictions in place early on, we did end up in a place that we felt good about economically at the end, and not far off from our peer countries.
Okay, thank you. But I have another question. What about related on the first question? But what about mental issues, problems? What about deaths related with hunger and robberies and insecurity?
According to the finals. I'm sorry, according to the final scores, we achieved a 94 rating on the economy. The highest score achieved in the game was a 96. I just don't recognize, in my experience as Prime Minister and leader of this country, I don't recognize this kind of nightmare landscape that is being presented here. Every country has problems. Our economic performance was quite good, and I don't think we're going to see these serious long-term effects that you're indicating. And I think there will be serious long-term effects associated with high levels of death as well, in terms of mental health and long-term economic consequences. That would be my sense of the situation.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
We need to move on to the next country.
Thank you. We have Hanum.
Hello, I'm Farabi, the Minister of Health of Hanum. Before starting off with my question, I have a point to correct to His Excellency Prime Minister of Maldives. The highest economic score belongs to Hanum at 99. And now I would like to continue to my question, which is, if we look at the perfect balance, Hanum has had a perfect balance between the economy and the health mitigation at one infected per 100,000 population. So my question, and also we have had a perfect score in the national debt segment. So my question to Chanmar is that Chanmar has the lowest score when it comes to the debt score. So how does Chanmar plan to protect its country's economy in the long run and mitigate this situation and overall enhance its personal economy in the long run? So this is my question to Chanmar. Thank you.
So I think it's a good question. I think it's an interesting point you make about the percentile score, because if you look at the data, while Hanum did achieve a 99, we actually exceeded that with our total score in percentile. So your question is well taken. I think that in our approach, again, was a balanced approach that acknowledges the needs of our country. Our needs are not just solely economic or in terms of the overall societal needs. So again, moving forward, really having the legitimacy and the faith in our country, just having kind of a modern progressive society that shares information with its citizens. And again, also that achieves such an economic starting point at the end of this pandemic from which we can springboard from, really positions Chanmar well for success.
Thanks, but the government of Hanoi does not believe a financially weak government would be able to support the country in long run. So we do believe that the debt score is still important. Another question from Moldov. So even though you said that your stance is to prioritize virus mitigation, but your approval score is actually the lowest among the 4 countries. So do your people share the same vision or they share the same stance as yours? Thank you.
Understood.
Sorry, we don't have the time for one rebuttal. So next group, please.
Moldov, please.
I can ask the first question. This is for Gamalino. Public policy involves trade-offs, as we know. You all ended up with a higher death rate than Moldov, but did achieve a slightly higher final economic rating. And so we wanted to hear how you thought about the trade-off between the economy and public health.
Yeah, I'll answer that. Oh, Ryan, if you want to. Okay. Well, again, just to reiterate, we valued the safety and the well-being of our citizens over the economic health of our country, and that proved to be worth it in the end by closing things down once we did see that things were getting worse, when we did have a large spike in cases and in deaths because we didn't keep track of it at first. But we came back from it, which we're very proud of, by shutting things down very quickly, by starting to test more, by closing down businesses and other public entities, and it proved to be worth it in the end. And once that started to happen and level out, we began to open things back up again, and our approval ratings went with it. So valuing our citizens' safety proved to be worth it. I don't know if you have anything to add, Ryan.
Yeah, I do. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what that spike
Sorry,
was.
you spent your time for an answer. So next question, please. Next question. No, next group. Next question.
Sorry, our Minister of Public Health was going to ask that question, but the question was for Hanoi. The Prime Minister stated that the interests of their people mattered more than the economic health, but later also contradicted that statement. Considering that Hanoi is a developing country and that poor and vulnerable populations rely on the workforce, how would you respond to your citizens' needs if promoting restrictive measures and policies would mean loss of jobs and unemployment?
Certainly. Unlike Moldov, where you guys had approximately 20 times the financial resources per capita that we did, we recognized that ultimately the most vulnerable in our population would be devastated, absolutely devastated by a poor public health response. We knew that they would actually be the worst hit. So ultimately, we recognized that we needed to act aggressively, and as a result, that allowed us to roll out the vaccine, totally reopen our economy, and in contrast to our initially poor economic position, we ended up the strongest out of all 4 member states.
Okay, time's up. Next group.
Okay. Our question is directed to Chanmar. You pretty much scored very low when it came to the economic status. So thinking about it financially, when economy isn't that good, what was your plan to actually sustain handling the pandemic if your government wasn't very financially strong or economically strong? Because pandemics take a lot of money and take a lot of economical good status for them to be handled on the long run. What were your plans?
So while we took the hit in the initial economy, we felt that we did a very successful job of bringing it back up. We ended with a 94 score for economy, and our debt score is 99.8. While we were a little bit negative in debt, we did manage to not introduce any stimulus payments to stimulate the economy. We were able to do that with balancing our policies and restaurant taxes accordingly to recuperate some funds. So we had time. It took us time to get to that point. We all know the economy fluctuates up and down, and we do believe that our economy was higher at 99, 100% at one point, but the time caused it to, when the game ended, we were at 94, which we're still very proud of.
Great, thank you.
I have one last question directed for Moldov. Since you are a country that is so reliant and focused on tourism, I was just curious how you did manage to find a balance between the economy and public health while managing and mitigating the virus in your country.
Sure. So I appreciate the question. I think the first thing to focus on here is understanding that our long-term economic growth in our tourism industry would not have been resolved or in a better place or recovered in general had we not taken some of these measures. So yes, we did have to close our borders initially, knowing that we would take a hit. However, we took those aggressive measures. We required mask mandates. Yes, we did implement, mask fines for not wearing masks. We nationalized our healthcare system, all in the goal of an objective of getting our viruses down to a minimum, our deaths down to a minimum, cases down to a minimum, and in the long run just helping our nation's economy and our region's economy. That was the only way to go about this, is just being a good partner and working together and doing the best we can.
Okay, time's up.
Thank you, Gamalino. So now you have 2 minutes to prepare your closing statements. Sorry. Chanmar, you're up.
All right, thank you. So people turn to and rely on their leaders to consider all interests and not to overly prioritize one area or one leg of the tripod over the other. Such a stunted approach does a disservice to the people and actually imposes government on the country. The Chanmar government prioritized balance and considered all of our people's needs in a way that was equitable to all different groups within the country. The data speaks for itself. We achieved the best balance in health, economic, and approval numbers. We were courageous in taking bold policy action that acknowledged our strong established infrastructure and national economy. Our approach was data-driven, evidence-informed, transparent, and legitimate. But lastly, and just as importantly, we communicated 3 key topics with our people: what we did, how we did it, and why we were doing it. The partnership with our people was really the balanced approach and why our people overwhelmingly maintained faith in our legitimacy. Government exists to serve and represent its people, and the Chanmar government today achieved just that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Hanum.
Hanom's experience confirms that the best economic response is a strong public health response. We began the simulation with a low-income, economically vulnerable population and far less financial resources per capita than our peers. Rather than prioritizing economic stimulus, we funded early access to vaccines for every single one of our population and began a heavy lockdown. This enabled us to fully open our economy and support our neighbours. Ultimately, this resulted in a win-win where despite only having 1 death per 100,000 Hanomians, we had 0 debt and the highest economic score in the region. If prioritization of a public health response can work amongst the vulnerable population of Hanom, we believe that it is the answer to solving future pandemics. Thank you.
Okay, Malda.
Public policy involves trade-offs. It involves a weighing of values that makes grading the performance of one country and another in responding to a shared crisis a very difficult task. Of the options available, we chose to make public health our priority. Any evaluation of our performance will ultimately depend whether the evaluator agrees with that approach. We don't think the evidence or our experience supports the argument in the prompt. Luckily, there did not end up being a significant trade-off between economic and performance and public health in our pandemic response. We saw significant economic consequences at the beginning of the pandemic, but by the time we achieved suppression, our economic performance was very competitive, despite a reliance on the heavily hit tourism industry. That's a result that promotes equity, resilience, and the well-being of our citizens. The nature of this sort of event is to pitch one nation against each other. I would like to close by emphasizing that we believe that the whole region contributed to our substantial success. We should try to learn from each other's approaches and priorities. We only hope that our strong focus on public health contributes to that discussion.
Thank you, Malda. Gamalina.
Sure. So first, just to address the initial spike in our cases, we had neglected to turn on testing. Therefore, we were monitoring the data all the way through, right, within a few months. We then turned testing on and there was a massive spike because we were testing. So we were able to then find cases. And as soon as we found these cases, we quickly eradicated the virus. We turned on the controls necessary. We were able to balance our economy and the public sentiment in an efficient manner, considering multiple stakeholders, considering long-term and short-term effects, and ultimately completely eradicating the virus, opening up our borders, and finishing strong.
All right, that was incredible. So good job, everyone. That just about wraps your role in the competition. So that was truly remarkable, honestly. So the next 15 minutes, the judges are going to spend deliberating and we're going to be tallying your scores. So during these 15 minutes, please, you're welcome to take a break, a well-deserved break. So we are also asking if you can all take group photos with you and your teammates in your respective breakout rooms during this time, so we can actually post all of these to the website. That would be really, really great because we don't have good photos of you as a team. So I'll also, during this time before judges meet, I'll just give you kind of the prize breakdown. So you all are owed the $100 from the regional round. So I'll just add that to your all-star winnings. In addition, you will all receive a certificate, obviously, and then a letter of recommendation. Top 4 will all receive a letter of recommendation, and whatever you need from us, if you need a referral or anything, we're happy to provide that to you, as well as certificates. So you'll get all of that digitally in the next few weeks. So in terms of the cash prizes, so the 4th place team, which includes the $100 regional round earnings, will receive $250 in total. And then each member of the team will receive $250 in total. So each member of the 3rd place team will receive $350 in total. Each member of the 2nd place team will receive $600 in total, and each member of the 1st place team will receive $1,100 in total. So these are the cash prizes, and we will get those to you in the next few weeks. So take this time to take photos of you and your teams, and we'll see you back in 15 minutes.
Okay,
Thank
opening
you.
up breakout rooms now.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, one more time.
Good job, everybody. I think they're gonna fix the breakout room again.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know how that happened.
No worries.
Could be worse, right?
Right? You got this.
Okay.
You're fine.
I'll leave. Bye.
Okay. Hi, Lim. Thank you again for working so hard again.
Okay, they're about to come back in.
Right, so can I break up the rooms? Or let's break them up? Okay.
And bring the judges back in about 10 seconds. All right, Dana, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for all of your hard work tonight. And let me just say that this has been very exciting for the judges to watch. I can tell it's been very exciting for you. We just wanted to just offer a few comments and going in alphabetical order by country, and then we'll reveal the winners. So in alphabetical order, some of the judges' observations for Chanmar. You guys were very pragmatic. We noted your tripod approach and your constant focus on the people. Very solid efforts overall, you guys. For Gamalino, really nice job following the data. We saw that over and over again, very evidence-based in your approaches. And let's see, for the next in alphabetical order, Hannon, we noted your guys' excellent teamwork, some of the economic strategy and pushing the public health aspect for your particular country. And we also noted too, just you guys felt very comfortable taking a stand, disagreeing with the prompt. And then for Moldov, some really good teamwork, really getting into your roles during the simulation itself. Very strong on not willing to make those trade-offs, but a very balanced approach. And guys were very good on your feet as well. So, excellent job and much applause to all of you guys for all of your hard work. So now let's, I know that you guys are waiting for this. So let me just go and we'll go backwards order, fourth place team first. So the fourth place team this evening, according to a lot, and it was close. It was really close. According to all of the data being combined and all the deliberations, the fourth place team was Gamalino. So congratulations, you guys, for your hard work. The third place team was Chanmar. So excellent work, you guys, too. So, and now on to the second and first place teams. So the second place team, and many congrats, Hannon, you guys were the second place team. And finally, a big hearty congratulations to Mal.
Sorry. You just, Data, I think you switched those. So the second place team was Moldov,
I'm
and
sorry.
the third place team was Hanum's.
Yeah, I wrote that down wrong. Apologies. So Hanum, the second place team. And then Moldov, congratulations, first place. So sorry for that mix up. But the first place team, the team members from Moldov, would you guys stick around after
We're not the first place team, right? It's Hanum.
Sorry. The first place team is Hanum, and the second place team is Moldov.
Okay, I'll get that right. So
no worries, it's late where you are too.
Thank you so much, Adam, for that courtesy. It was really great working with each and every one of you. I just want to stress that out.
And this was an incredible experience, honestly. Please put this on your resume and your LinkedIn, and please reach out for recommendations, because to be in the top 4 is just unbelievable. You all outcompeted hundreds of students. I mean, how many teams were there? There were 76 teams. That's incredibly impressive. So there's first place, second place, third place, fourth place. Honestly, you all will get letters of recommendation, referrals, whatever you need from us. We'll post it on the website. We're going to put it on our newsletter. We're just going to have the media from all your schools deliver this amazing information, because this is not a joke. This is something that you should really applaud yourselves for. So yes, I'll just go over the scores one more time so we get this right. So the first place team is Hanum, the second place team is Moldov, the third place team is Chanmar, and the fourth place team is Gamalino.
Yes, and can I just add something real quick? I want to take this opportunity, right? I would like to share my email in the chat to increase our networking. And I would like to go ahead and extend that if any one of you need help, if you're ever in the region of Guam, or if I'm ever in the region, vice versa, of your place, I would like to extend my knowledge and my experience to help with your schools have more participants in such an activity.
Yes.
Thank you
And
so
I would
much.
like to say on behalf of NASPA, thank you to you as students participating in this, to your advisors and professors who suggested this, that you participate. We love our NASPA members. I'd also like to thank some of the specific folks who worked on this, Supriya Golis, who is our simulation education director, Keun-Hyuk at KDI, who you saw running things, and our three, my fellow judges. We very much appreciate Dana and Anand, and what a tremendous effort this was to make this happen around the world. And what an important topic. I think you can all look back on this and understand the global challenge that we face from the pandemic, and maybe we all walk away from this with a little more insight into this is the great challenge of your generation. This is one step closer for graduate students in public affairs and public policy to understand the power of simulation and simulation education in helping understand very complex public policy problems like this. So thank you all for participating.
Thank you very, very much. And this has been an absolute delight to watch so many people collaborating and competing. So thanks.
Thank you all. And I know it's really late for some of you all. So
good night, good morning.
Excellent work, everyone.
And if Hannum could stay after for an interview, that would really be appreciated. And we're going to reach out to all of you. So if you want to record, we'll have some guiding questions. So we'd love to hear all of your feedback, but also post some of the interviews online as well from all 4 teams, because it was so close. It was incredibly close. So thank you. Okay. Anyone else have anything? Or I know it's so late for some of you also, or early.
If I get the floor, I'd like to mention a few things.
Farabi, I think your audio.
Okay, thank you. So it's 9 a.m. in the morning in Dhaka, Bangladesh. We started this competition at 5 a.m. in the morning. So 2 of the members in my team is from Bangladesh, myself and another gentleman named Mr. M.H. Shamrat. And fun fact, while this competition was going on and the simulation was going on, there was a rainstorm that took place, causing 2 blackouts while this game was going on. And we had to basically, I personally had to turn on my mobile hotspot, and my teammate had to run to his neighbor's house, which was in a different neighborhood, and which was like 45 minutes away. And keep in mind, Dhaka city is going through a strict lockdown. And so he had to literally risk getting legal ramification and go to his other neighborhood. And, and so I just wanted to really put that out there. And thank you for
They had their challenges, but they were still able
such an
to
amazing
persevere.
event. And thank you to all my teammates, Peggy, Hugo, Renee. Thank you, Renee.
We really appreciate that dedication is remarkable. So honestly, you bring together people from all over the world, like from New Zealand, Egypt, Russia, like the States. It's pretty incredible to see all of you. And I'm really sorry, with the huge time differences, it was so hard to find a time that was good for everyone. But frankly, it's like one of the most inspiring, empowering initiatives that we run at NASPA because of just you all and your commitment and your dedication amidst all of these obstacles, the pandemic, electricity and power outages. It's unbelievable. So yeah, I'm truly humbled to have been observing this like remarkable job that you did today.
Yes, definitely. Thank you again.
All right, well, with that being said, go about with your days and enjoy your evenings, your mornings, your afternoons, and we will be in touch. And if Hanam can stay on for a little bit longer, we'll just do a few interviews. And honestly, if anyone wants to stay a bit longer, we can just talk to you for a bit from all 4 teams. It'll be a good opportunity for us to put you on our website and just showcase your amazing work.